So hello everybody here, hello everybody in the video. My audio is working, that's important because otherwise I have to do a voiceover, which I hated doing. So we're going to do internationalization. Now, writing the word internationalization is annoying because it's long and it's easy to misspell. So we don't actually do that because computer scientists are the laziest people in the universe. Instead, we write i18n because there's 18 characters. Yes, that is right. So our internationalization is going to be i18n. And just so you know that I'm not making this up, we're actually going to go to our pub spec, and the package we're going to add under dependencies is called Flutter. Wait, my autocomplete? Where is it? Come on, autocomplete. Why does it keep disappearing on me? Well, I also should switch to presentation mode so we can see what we're doing. i18n, and I can do a pub get, and this should be okay. Pub get. Oh, it's because I didn't actually have it installed. Well, that helps. No wonder. I had it installed on my other computer, I guess, and now it's like downloading the actual file for internationalization. Okay, well, at least I have it now. Go back to my main. And now, assuming that that worked, I should be able to import Flutter. Oh, it's still going? Yeah, there we go. i18n import package Flutter i18n Flutter. I should just be able to do the autocomplete though, right? i18. The autocomplete is really unreliable here sometimes. Oh, is it really that picky? Fine. Okay, there we go. i18n delegate. Some wacky names for these packages. And then last but not least, localizations. Oh, did I? No, there it is. Flutter localizations. Okay, these are the only packages we need. Hooray! None of them require internet access. Even better. However, we do have to do some little pre-work because the translation here is not powered off of Google. It's powered off of you putting together a file that has all the translations, which is why I just did them at the start of the class. However, we need to now make all these files, so let's do that together. In our project, we're going to make a top-level folder called assets. Inside of assets, we're going to have another folder. It's going to be called i18n. And inside i18n, we're going to make 3 JSON files. The first one's going to be called en.json because that's English, and that's going to be the easiest one to do. So let's start with English. Now, just like any other JSON file, have you guys done JSON before? Yes? No? Somewhat? Mostly? Okay. Basically, a JSON file is just a big dictionary. So our dictionary is going to be very, very simple for this class because we're only going to be doing this for one thing. We're going to make a login screen, and we're going to make our login screen work in English and French and Spanish because Spanish was requested, and I got some very friendly help with translating it. Appreciate it very much. So we're going to make a login screen. We do need to label that login is the name of the thing that we're going to translate for. If you have other parts of your app that use different, that are going to need different dictionaries to translate different things, you might want to call them different names appropriately. Maybe you have a username on one page that's supposed to be translated one way, a username on another page translated a different way. But we're going to keep it simple. So what are the kinds of things that could happen if you are trying to log in? Well, it could work. So if it works, login successful. And maybe it's the case you want the message to contain their actual username. So we'll put that in braces so that we can populate that with a variable later. Let's say that they fail to log in. Then we want to say login incorrect or unsuccessful. It doesn't matter. Then username. Oops. Their username. Now, if they fail to log in, we want to say how many times they've made an incorrect attempt. Now, here's where language gets kind of annoying. In English, if I have, let's say I have several, baseballs. If I have no baseballs, I say no baseballs, plural. If I have one baseball, I say one baseball, singular. If I have two or more, it's back to baseballs again. So if I want to translate the number of attempts starting at 0, the different translations are for 0, 1, or more than that. So the numbers are how many attempts there are. This is 0 for this one, so it's a little redundant, but 0 failed attempts. If I have it as 1, then it should be 1 failed attempt, singular. And if I have multiple, then it's back to plural again. Attempt, oops, attempt. These will all be attempts, plural. Because this is going to be a variable that we populate later. So it'll be 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, and so on and so forth. But conveniently for us, the automatic translation for Flutter will treat num attempts 2 to be 2 or more, which makes sense for language. This is back to failed attempts, plural again. Okay, we got password. Our password is password. Then we have login, which is going to be log in. Sure, that should be fine. Okay, great. We have our JSON file. No commas at the end, I guess, because JSON doesn't like what I do there. All right. Very important. Don't make the mistake I did, which was I had capitalized one of these letters somewhere, and the whole thing crashed and didn't work, and that made me sad until I figured out what it was. So be very careful about your casing, particularly for anything purple here. Everything green on the side, it's just words that show up, so you can fix those as you like. Okay, that's English. Now I need to do the exact same thing, except I need it in my other languages I'm going to do. So the first one that I put together was French. And now the words for this are going to be different. If someone is a fluent French speaker, they can tell me if I'm wrong with these. I think I'm right, but you can tell me if I'm incorrect. So login correct is connexion. Oh no, I have to grab the E with the accent. There it is. Nope. I don't have a number pad because of a crappy laptop. We can see. So Alt function key the thing. No, it doesn't seem to work. Yeah, you need a proper keyboard, and this is a garbage keyboard. It's okay. I saved them already, so I can copy them over. Hopefully this is right. Someone can yell at me if any of my French is wrong. I hope it's not. We'll see. This one is basically like connection refused. Échec de la connexion. Then there is the literal translation, nom d'utilisateur. Then for the attempts, we leave this in English because this is going to be a variable we populate. Same with username here is going to stay because it's in braces, so we're going to fill it in with a field. But this is going to be tentative infructueuse. This, which we'll copy for the other one. And for this, it is singular. The password is most conveniently mode to pass. And to log in, you connect with 2 of these. Okay, any French speakers when you yell at me, I did it wrong? No, I'm okay, or don't know? Okay, cool. All right, and finally, Espanol, es.json. Copy all this. Okay, so we said that the first one was inicio de sesión exitoso. And then the other is the same thing except incorrecto. The username is nombre de usuario. And the number of attempts is intentos fallidos. Same for plural. And for singular, singular. Password. Oh no, I don't have the N. I gotta grab the N. Senia. And login inicio de sesión. All right, nice and clean and good. I'll put these in the Git, I suppose, now just to start. Oh, one last thing I should do before I push stuff to the Git. Actually, yeah, I'll put these assets in the Git so you have them. But one more thing that we need to remember to do, because these are assets, we need to make sure that our pubspec knows where to find them. So under pubspec, down at the bottom where we have our assets, where are they? Assets. So we need to have assets and our assets slash i18n slash. And this way we can access those JSON files that we just made. Okay, so got all that. I'll push the assets and then we'll move on from there. The main function will modify in a little bit, but just so anybody who's fallen behind can catch up. Open in Explorer, please and thank you. Let's grab our assets. Back to here. Oh yeah, this is that's okay. Copy. So we are doing i18n because typing is annoying. Lecture B. I want to put some assets and open Git so I can push it. Lec 10b i18n commit and go. Okay. All right, we've done the part that requires Google and we wouldn't be able to do without the help of either a translator or a search engine. Everything else we're going to do for today is going to be nice and clean, and we're just going to put it in main.dart to keep it really, really easy. But we are going to try to put together a little app that will allow us to switch between our different languages with the click of a button. It will update all of the text that we need to update anywhere that it shows up. So to begin, we do our favorite thing of deleting everything that is useless. Yeah, I'll delete a bunch of stuff first, but there are going to be some things that I want to have. I don't need this counter thing. Oop. I'll leave in the scaffold. I don't need this comment. I'll leave the text here. I'm going to put some other stuff in, but for now I'll leave this text. Our floating action button can go away. We don't need it. And also let's, I guess while the device manager loads up my emulator, 15 gigs. I hope it's not frying my hard drive. At some point, I probably should delete this emulator, but for now, it's probably okay. I'm going to run this just to make sure nothing is exploded just yet. The connecting part shouldn't take too long. The building will. Or maybe I'm a little optimistic. It's loading slower than I thought. To restart the whole phone? Jeez. Apparently last class was more intense on my phone than I thought. In the meantime, oh, is it going? Starting? Okay. Let's go. Build. Then while it's building, I can talk a bit about how this is going to work. Is it going now? Everything's okay? Launching, great. Okay, so this is probably going to take a while. So let me talk a bit about what we're going to do. So conveniently for us, we've imported some packages up here. Let me talk a bit about them. So these packages are going to handle a number of different things for us. Most importantly, what they're going to need to do is be able to figure out, first of all, which language are we on at any given time. I've put in EN, ES, FR, and we're going to specifically label those. Generally, you want to probably keep the language like codes to match. You also can do country codes if you really want. So if you're the kind of person who's really picky and hates like a specific kind of English, and you're like, oh, I don't want to use American English, only British English or something like that, you can do that. I think for the purposes of this class, we'll just keep it simple and ignore nationalities and just say, you know what, we'll go with languages. But there are settings so that you can set it that if you're in a certain country, it will show up with a certain language. And the languages are pretty much anything that you can think of, really. I haven't gone through all of them, but I'm pretty sure that it supports most that you can think of will work. Now, the way that it's going to do all this translation is that you're going to need to actually call the Flutter i18 class anytime that you need to translate some text. So it does mean that you end up having to populate a lot of your code with a bunch of these function calls. But ideally, what will happen is you'll figure out which parts of your code actually need to be translated and sort of put to-dos there and say, in the future, I want to be able to translate this. For the purposes of the project, I think that it's a reasonable expectation to say anything that's part of like essential UI should be translatable. So this is things like username, login, at least enough to get to like a menu. Any menu that you have should definitely be able to be translated into different languages. If you have data of a certain sort, like let's say that you're working with a database of products, for example, I'm not going to ask you to translate every product you have in your database. That's crazy. But you should at least be able to translate any static text that's in your code, assuming that it's something that isn't immediately intelligible to somebody who's not speaking English. Okay, looks like everything loaded here okay. So let's start off with some of the setup. So something we don't do very often is actually modifying our material app. So we've done this before anytime that we've needed to make some routes, but there's actually something else we're going to need to add in here, which is something called localizations delegates, I should say. And this is basically going to be something that helps to set up any kinds of languages that we need to be able to handle. So you can see here, for instance, they have it set up where you have US English and Israel Hebrew, and you can like list anything you want to record specifically. I'm going to ignore countries. I'm just going to put in a few different languages, just so we can see how this works. Yeah, okay, you can go away now. Okay, so localization delegates. We're going to use Flutter i18. Let me push some stuff aside so we can have more space to play with. Flutter i18 delegate. Our Flutter i18 delegate is going to have a few things. The first thing it's going to have that's essential is a translation loader. This is going to figure out which files it needs to work with and where to get them. So the translation loader is a file translation loader because we have files that we can work with. And our file translation loader is going to not use country codes because we don't want to. If it can't find a file for some reason, we default it to English. And the base path for all of our files is going to be assets/i18n, because that's where I put them. Still angry. Why are you still angry? I missed something here, I think. What did I miss? Translation loader, file translation loader. The whole thing is actually very angry. Localizations, delegates. Oh, it's supposed to be a list. It's supposed to be a list. That's why. Sorry. List. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, the reason it's a list is because in addition to having the thing that helps us to get our files that we just built, we also want to potentially have some localizations for stuff from the material app, which we imported, and the widgets app. I believe there's also one for Cupertino, but someone else can double check. But here we have our global widgets localizations .delegate. And we're going to have our global material localizations .delegate. And I think I did see there, actually, if someone wanted to add it, it's kind of unnecessary for me. There is global Cupertino as well. And this is basically just if you need to translate any of that stuff as well. So we'll put this in to make sure that we can translate our text objects to support the files that we're going to be loading. And in addition to having our delegate stuff here, we're also going to have what are the supported locales that we can go to. And in this case, we have 3 of them. So a list, there's going to be, the first locale is going to be English and no country code. The second one is going to be French, no country code. And finally, the third one is going to be Espanol, no country code. So now we have all of them. Cool. One more thing that I'm going to add in, not because you need it, but because I ran into a bug while I was trying to put the lecture together and I was very frustrated and it helped me solve a problem, so it might help you solve a problem, is a missing translation handler. So anytime that you try to translate something and it doesn't quite work, it's nice to have something that will be like, hey, you messed something up. So the missing translation handler takes a key and it takes a locale that it was trying to translate. And in here, we will have it print missing key. And you can say what the key is, and you can say the language code is the locale's language code. And this has to have an exclamation mark or it'll get mad at you. And this has to have a semicolon because it's a statement. This is not necessary, but as somebody who tried around with this for more than 5 seconds, you're very likely going to run into the scenario where you tried to translate something, you put a lowercase n instead of a capital N, and none of your code worked, and you were very frustrated with yourself. This will save you time, so I'm sharing it with you. Okay, I think we are good to move on from this. We have all of our stuff set up to do the translations. Now we need to actually have something to translate. So going to our home page state, I suppose we can like hot restart this just to make sure nothing exploded or anything, but it should be fine. Hot restart, all is well. Cool. Okay, let's make a very simple login page just so that we have stuff to translate. We're gonna have a username. We're gonna have a password. We're gonna have a whether or not they logged in correctly. So it's going to be a Boolean valid login, and we'll keep track of how many times they tried. So that's going to be num of attempts, which will start out as 0 by default. And every time they mess up, we're going to increment that. And that way we can show the translation of it, right? Okay. So we are going to build... First off, let's build the buttons to let us actually do the translations. And to make it real simple, we're actually just going to throw them in the app bar. So in the app bar, in our actions, we'll make 3 text buttons. We'll build one at a time, and then you can just copy paste them because the only difference is going to be the language. Also, if you don't give them a style, they don't show up, which I found out the inconvenient way, of course. So before I do anything else, I actually need to color them white, because otherwise I think the default might actually be blue, and you won't see them show up here and think that your code is wrong. But it's not wrong. You just need to actually set a style from a color, which in this case is going to be white. This way we know for sure when the button shows up that it actually exists and we can see it physically on the screen. The child for this is just going to be text that says the language, English for the first one. And when we press the button, we're going to make this an asynchronous function because loading up the translation can take some time. So we are going to set our locale. Our new locale is going to be English, so locale en. We're then going to wait for Flutter to refresh everything. So Flutter i18.refresh, and it's going to refresh everything using our new location. That means it'll reload any of the widgets that need to translate into English from whatever language they were before. And to make sure I actually see this happen, I'm going to call setState. And I'm not going to have anything in setState. I'm just going to call it. Okay. Let's make sure this shows up before I do anything else. Okay, it's very tiny, but you can see there's an EN up there in the corner. Okay. So first one, cool. Let's do the other two. They are the exact same thing, so I'm just going to copy a text button, select the whole text button, copy it once, copy it twice. The only difference is this one's going to be FR, FR, ES, ES. That's it. Make sure that works. And look at that. Try to zoom this in again. Whoa. en, fr, es. I can click on them, and they should change the locale. Right now, it doesn't show up as anything because I haven't actually said what will translate yet, but I got my buttons ready to go. Okay. So, buttons are ready. Let's make some stuff to translate. In the body, I'm not going to have center. Instead, what I want is a list view. And we're not going to use a builder for this because I just want to have a bunch of specific tiles. One that's going to have the text of whether they were successful or not at logging in. One that's going to show how many times they tried to log in. One for username. One for password. One to submit. And we'll do them one at a time. So the list view has children. The first child is going to be a list tile. And the list tile is going to have a title. And the title is going to be text. And the text is going to be if the valid login is, yeah, so if there is a valid login, then that, otherwise nothing. Yeah, that seems fine. Does it let me do that? No, I have to convert this, I think, to a string. Yeah, I guess another way I can do this is I can do valid login. If it's null, then empty string. Otherwise, valid login like that. Or no, I want this to be two things actually, because I want to see if it is a valid login, I want to put in login successful, and if it's an invalid login, I want it to be something else. So if it's null, then nothing. Otherwise, if it is a valid login, then I want to do login.success. Otherwise, login.failure. And this seems really weird right now. Why would I write login.success, login.failure? But if you remember from back over here, login here refers to this word login, success to this. So anytime that you need to reference something using your dictionaries, this is the format that you use to do it. The top level entry, then the entry after that, and so on if you need to have more dictionaries. So this will, if they haven't tried to log in, will be empty string. If they have tried to log in, then if they were successful, success, and if they failed, fail. Okay, we'll leave that for now. Then we're going to have another list tile, which is going to just have the title be, I guess for now we'll just do num of attempts dot to string. Hold on, no, title is supposed to take a widget, right? So I think, yeah, so text num of attempts dot to string. This is going to look really basic at first. I want to do all of this in like the basic form, and then we'll add in the translation stuff after. So I'll push everything once I've written all of the stuff I need to do that has no translation, and then we can start translating things and seeing how that works. Okay, then I have, after I've done whether they're successful or not at logging in, how many attempts they've made to log in. So if I compile this, it should just show me a 0. There's a 0 there. It's very small, but it's present. Then I have another list tile. This one is going to have a field for them to fill in their password. So the leading here is going to be text of login.username. And the title, this is kind of misleading. When it says title, you think that's like going to be the name of something, but actually this is the object that appears inside the list tile, which in this case is going to be a text field. I want them, not a form field, just a text field. I want them to actually be able to write something in here. And then when we do the translation, we'll translate the label for this text field. We don't want to translate the text field itself. So in my text field, I'm going to make a controller, because I need to make sure that anytime I modify the text in here, it's going to update my username variable. So text editing controller, and the text is going to be the username. And when I change this text field with a new value, it will change the username to be the new value. Okay, that seems good. All right. This list tile, I'm going to copy it, make another one. This one is going to have a password. And when I change it, I will change the password. Cool. Pretty simple. Then I will make another list tile. This one will be different, though. So I'll make it from scratch. This list tile is going to be my button. I press it, and it will actually let me log in. But I'm probably going to want to translate the word login, so it doesn't say login for anybody who's not speaking English. So text button. The child is going to be text. That will say login.login. Again, this seems kind of silly, but when you go back to the database, login. So we actually have login if we're in English, or connect if we're in French, or inicio de sesión. On pressed. Is this asynchronous? This is not asynchronous because it's actually very quick. Now we're going to cheese this a little bit. If their username is admin, because that's the right username, and their password is the combination to my luggage, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then I will do valid login is true. Otherwise, valid login is false, and I will increment the number of attempts. Also, because I want to show this, I'll wrap both of these in set state. So we'll do a set state here and a set state here. I think that's it. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, so we have no successful logins yet. Login.username, login.password, places to fill some stuff in. If I put in some nonsense and I try to log in, it says login.failure. If I put in admin and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, login success, hooray. And also note that it says 1 here. We want this to not just be 1, but we're actually going to want this to be one successful or one unsuccessful attempt, 2 unsuccessful attempts, and so on. So, okay, we have our basic template. Let me push the template. This is no translation is done yet, but we have the actual, stuff we're going to change. So open in Explorer. And I'll copy the lib folder, which just contains the one thing. And push. Like 10b, no translate. Okay. So, okay, great. We have a login page. It's like not impressive, but it has some stuff. Now, let's try to figure out how to actually make these words into not English. And we're going to start at, I suppose, the very top. Where's the first place that we need to translate something? I think the first thing we have to translate is that login success, login failure. So let's do, or actually we'll do the easy ones. The easy ones are login.username, login.password, and login.login, because they're always there. It turns out you can do this with one very, very simple line of code. So where's my username? Here we go. So instead of having this, I'm going to call Flutter i18n.translate. And we're given the context already, so we don't have to do anything for that. And the key here is actually just the text. This is kind of handy. So replace the key with the text. And let's see it work. The default is English. Hold up. What did I miss? Missing key username in French. Well, that's problematic. Let me see why it's missing. Well, this is why we put the missing key stuff in here, right? Because I knew I was going to make a mistake at some point. Why can't I find my username? Hold up. Must have made a mistake somewhere. Debugging, always my favorite thing. What I think is happening is it knows what it's supposed to translate, but I don't think it can find the file. I think that's what's going on here. I'm going to do a pub get. And I actually think I'll try restarting the app as well, just in case. Because I don't think that fixes it. We'll do a restart. You never know. Oop. Oof. At least don't have to worry about internet connection this time. Just to figure out what I forgot to do. It's probably a step in here that I missed. Oh, was it a set state? I bet it was a set state. You know what? I think it was. No, but I have a set state there. Yeah, no, it's not a set state, right? Because it's just simply not finding my my translation file because it's immediately trying to translate right away, but it's not finding login.username. Now my main has. Whoops. These I think are fine. Assets, i18n, check. Pub spec. Yeah, it's loading them. See if I can figure this out. When I translate to these, I imagine it's, yeah, so still can't find the file. Yeah, over here. Okay, I can give it a try. I guess it wants to rebuild. It shouldn't matter because I have country code set to false, but we'll see if that's the case. I wonder if this is the wrong base path. I don't think so though, because it should just be this directory, which takes you here. Yeah, it's still missing, so it's not that. This part's not finding what it needs. It's supposed to be searching for login.username. Did I format this correctly? I think so. I wonder, I don't think the spacing of these matters. These should be formatted fine. Yeah, they look okay to me. Debugging. Oh, like over here? Well, we're doing this one right now, right? So for this one, it's trying to look up login.username. This doesn't need to have any braces here. And then here where it's Flutter i18 translate, it should just be context and then, yeah, login.username. Same line of code. Does the same thing. Yeah, it's still not quite right. I bet I missed something silly somewhere, and now I'm trying to figure out what I missed. Is that really what it is? Oh my goodness. It's just a slash? I put in a slash? All right, well, thank you very much. Apparently, a single slash can stop all your translation work and set it apart. So, hey, you know, we figured it out together. Isn't that friendly? Much appreciated, Jack. Okay, so look at that. Now instead of saying username, it says actual username. And in French, it says nom de utilisateur. And in Espanol, nombre du, oh, this should be capital. It's fine. Usuario. So hooray, we can translate things. Let's power forward and translate everything else now that we have solved our terrible plague of the stray slash. Okay, so fortunately, doing it for password is very, very easy because we can just copy this line. So exact same thing, but instead of username, it's password. Go. Hooray, password, mot de passe, contraseña, hooray. Let's do login. It's the same thing. Copy, paste, login. Hot restart error, what? Oh, it's not the same line of code, my bad. Because this is a text button, so it's not supposed to have a leading, it's supposed to have a child. But the child is still text that has the translator inside of it, and it will translate login.login. Yay. All right, so we've done the easy part, which is anything that showed up on the screen and had text has been translated to username, password, login, and the appropriate things when we switch translation. Okay, great and cool. Notably, this didn't change, so this might be a trickier thing to fix, especially because the level at which I do the translations happens all the way over here. I guess actually it shouldn't be too hard, right? I should be able to change widget.title here. I just would want probably my widget.title to be something that actually appears in my dictionary, and then you should be able to translate that as well if you really wanted to. I maybe you know, I have a lot of time. I think maybe we'll try doing that just for fun after I do everything else. We'll translate the title. Okay, so the other things we have to translate though, we still don't have actual words with this number. It's just a number that pops up. And also when we log in right now with our like incorrect info, it still gives login.failure, login.success. So let's fix those. Okay, here we go. This is a very messy block of code here. let's see if we can make it a little cleaner. So if the valid login is null, then empty string. Otherwise, if they log in and it's valid, then we're going to have two possibilities. One is success and one is failure. So once again, we're going to copy this flutter i18.translate context, and instead of username, it's success. And instead of success over here, it's failure. Now, here's the thing. Let's watch what happens when I do this. If it even lets me do it. I think it will, but it'll be silly. So thing. So let's log in incorrect, but then when I do correct, login successful brackets username. That's not what I want. I want to actually replace what's here with their actual username. So this is where you can start adding in parameters. It might be the case that you translate something and you need to fit that something in a sentence. Maybe you have to say something, but in English, you would put the subject first. Maybe in another language, you put the subject after. Languages do all kinds of things. So in order to handle the fact that you might have parameters in here, like someone's name, you can add translation parameters. Hooray. And so our translation parameter here is a dictionary, and it's going to map everything that shows up in your translation phrase to anything you want to change it to. So in this case, we have their username. I want to map their username to the username variable if they have a username, otherwise no. Okay, so now when I type in admin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hooray, login successful admin, because that's my name. It worked. Isn't that nice? Okay, so that's parameters. The last thing that I definitely have to show, and then we'll mess around by trying to figure out how to change the title, is this issue right here. Right now I'm just showing a number. That's really boring. What we want to do is show how many attempts they've made. So here's kind of the idea of what we want to actually have here, is we want something like login.num attempts, and we want the number of attempts to be num of attempts. But obviously we can't do this with text. However, there is a single class that will actually do everything we need for us, which is called i18n plural. An i18n plural, I guess it doesn't describe what it does, but I can tell you, is going to look through our dictionary to find, in this case specifically, login.num, and you'll see here, it's going to look for, what is it, num of attempts. This is with not a underscore, sorry. Or is it? No, it should be. Yeah. It's login.num underscore attempt. That's where the underscore should be. So login num attempts, which brings us to login num attempts. And you see that they have a -0, -1, -2. This is not for my purposes. This is because your computer actually needs you to put in -0, -1, -2. When you do, if you have 0, this is the thing that will show up in the translation, and it will populate attempts, because I said to populate attempts with this value, and then it'll have the according translation with it. So let's see what this looks like. So first off, I have 0 failed attempts, which makes sense. I haven't messed up at all. If I fail a single, and also in French and in Spanish. If I fail another time, it changes to singular, intento fallido, tentative, failed attempt. If I do it again, back to plural, which is what you want. It's very important for like correct grammar, spelling kind of thing. So good to know. And it's very convenient that the thing that does it for you is just a single class. Where did I put it? Back over here. i18n plural does this for you essentially automatically. You just need to know the right format to follow for it. So I guess we'll just wrap up by translating homepage, because why not? So the first thing is first. I suppose what we want to do then is we probably don't want to put it inside of our Oops. Probably don't want to put it inside of our login, right? Because it's something different. So maybe we'll call this home. And then we'll have page. And we'll make this, I guess just, i18n home page. Sure, why not? That's fine. So that's fine for English. For Spanish, we'll still put i18n because we will. But let's get the internet's help with how to say that in Espanol. Translate. We're going to translate home page. No, other way around. Is this correct? Does this sound good? Yeah, okay, thanks. Now you would do it this way, I think, right? Would make the most sense, probably. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. So there's our Espanol, and then finally for en français. French. Yeah, I guess that's kind of right. I'm not quite sure about this word. Maybe it's not the best. What does this translate to? Oh yeah, okay. It says it's fine. I'll trust it. Oops, sorry. Sure. Okay, now I have updated my JSON files with the home page. So when I go back to main.dart, where I have widget.title here, I actually don't need a title anymore. So I can actually just remove the title completely from this. Get out of here, title. Get out of here. Where do I build it? Here. Get out of here, title. Get out of here, title. Now it's happy. Yeah, okay. And we'll make the title Flutter i18.translate context. And the key here is going to be home.page. Go. Oh no, it freezes like that. That's not ideal. We want to be able to fit all of the text in. Let's try to fix that. Now, I think the issue here, let's see. How can I fix this? I think I can enlarge the app bar potentially. Let me see here. I imagine there's probably a way to enlarge the app bar. Alternatively, these buttons are, preferred size. Okay, so let's go find, where's my app bar? Let's give this a shot. So the first suggestion I found was to change the app bar so that instead of the app bar just being an app bar, it's actually a preferred size of the app bar. So the preferred size, and inside here is where we'll put the app bar that we built. App bar. Oh no, it's very angry. This is a child. Why are you mad? Oh, I have to actually give it a preferred size. That makes sense. Preferred size equals size dot from height 50. We'll just try that for fun. See what happens. Bigger maybe. See, it still doesn't do what I want to do, right? I want to push the buttons down. Anyone tried this before? Anybody else tried enlarging the app bar to push the buttons down below and then having the title expanded across? No. Well, there must be some way to do it. I mean, we have time. Let's try to figure it out, huh? Clearly, enlarging the app bar is not gonna help us get where we want to go. I guess I can undo what I've done. Just put it back. Yeah, so what's happening right now is the anytime that I put in one of these text buttons, it's squishing the space viable for the title. What I would like to do, I guess I can try to shrink the buttons is one option. Let's see if maybe I can do that by changing the text buttons here. I guess changing the child of the text button, right? I could wrap it in flexible, maybe. Let's try just doing one of them to see if that I don't know, flexible needs a child, right? Yeah. Just to see if that shrinks anything at all. Not really. Let's see. I can wrap the text button in a sized box and then set its height and width that way. Okay, let's give that a shot. So, using a sized box, and inside the sized box, we're going to put in our text button as a child. Yeah, it's our text button. And the height is fine. I don't really care about the height. What I care about is the width. The width is too wide. What if I shrink it down to like 30? Oh, it's very angry. Why are you angry? Oh, I have to put or do I have to? Too many positional arguments. 0 allowed but 1 found. What did I put in by as a oh, there's extra comma, duh. Ah, okay, now we're making progress. I don't care that much if the country code or the language code is vertical. That's not a problem for me. Ah, we're making space. We should format it properly. Let's see how far we can go while it still shows up. What if I do 50? So 50, I think, is like the default size. Oh, but it's so now it works for French, but for Spanish, it's a little too big. But I notice the other buttons are larger. So if I shrink them all to be the same size, then I can have this problem solved. So let's do that. Exciting. Okay. So we need to just put these inside. So what I can do actually is I can select this and wrap with sized box. That saves me a bit of typing. Not a lot, but you know, some. We'll set the width to be 50. And we'll take this one, wrap that with a sized box, and set the width to be 50. And then go. All right. They're a little more squished right now, but now I have the space to show all the titles. Very nice. Just some like little UI things, right? This is the kind of thing where like if you had handed me in this is your course project and I saw that the title was cut off with a bunch of like ellipsis, I would probably dock you marks because why? But you know, it's not too hard to change these kind of things. You just have to figure out how to do it. Very often, any of these kinds of UI adjustments usually just involve you having to wrap widgets inside of other widgets. Could be a box, could be a container, could be flexible. There's so many out there that I don't really have the ability to cover every single one of them in class because I would just be doing that the entire course. But it's worth at least trying to like make some of these little apps not part of your course project, but just smaller things, because that way when you see something like this where it's like, oh, I know exactly what I want to do. I want these buttons to be moved over to the side so that the title can have more space to flow. And so how do I do that? Well, clearly I need to change the size of the buttons. If I click and hold on this, Yeah, I guess you can see it. It highlights exactly how much space this button takes up. Before I changed the size, that space was way larger than it needed to be, right? I can probably even shrink these further if I really wanted to. I imagine I could get away with something like 40 and it would still have all the letters show up perfectly fine. Um, yeah, these still show perfectly fine. The buttons are getting narrower and narrower, but hey, maybe now I could add in more languages if I really felt like it. Kind of convenient. That being said, you probably don't want to actually have your language buttons as on the app bar. I think in general that's not really great UI design. Most likely, you would probably want to have a like kind of an options page somewhere in your app, and your options page should allow you to do all kinds of things like changing dimensions, setting the orientation of your app, changing the language, changing audio settings, volume controls, all those kinds of things are pretty handy, depending, of course, on the kind of app that you're making. I just put them here because I want to be able to quickly press some buttons and have them work. There's a great sense of satisfaction getting it all done. So only 15 minutes left, so I don't mind calling it a little early, but I do want to mention some things before everybody goes, particularly with regards to the project. The TA has started grading things and assures me that he'll be able to get feedback to you by sometime next week, hopefully at the beginning, but depends on time. So far, he says things look cool. We'll see how it goes in terms of innovation because there's lots of projects out there, and I'm hoping to see some unique ideas. I will probably post after the weekend a few links that you'll need, particularly for submitting. I think I'll probably ask you to record your videos and submit them via link on Canvas. So everything so far you've been submitting through the GitHub Classroom. This should include your lab extending. Whatever lab you pick to get your extra 10% for by doing the extra work, there is a link on Canvas that you need to make sure you go to. So I'll just pull it up really quick here. You must submit it through the link, by the way. If you don't submit it through the repo, we won't grade it. That's probably not what you want. But just to point it out, all the way at the bottom of the Canvas page is a repo. This repo will be what you need to submit your lab extending through. It has to be submitted through here. When you click on this, it will open a empty repo. Literally nothing will be in it, but it'll be part of our classroom so we can find you and grade your specific lab extending. Today was internationalization, the last topic that must be covered in your course project. The last 4 lectures are going to be on more fun things. So thanks for coming to class, and I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.